Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating topic drawn directly from a hugely popular YouTube video titled The $300 Cooling Tunnel That Keeps Homes Ice Cold, the Amish Secret Finally Revealed. You know, if you've ever absolutely dreaded opening your summer electric bill, you are going to want to pay close attention. What if I told you the solution to your summer heat literally requires no moving parts, no expensive chemicals, and it runs entirely for free? Yeah, we're talking about a completely forgotten, zero-electricity underground cooling method. It's kind of crazy, but the modern cooling industry seems to have just completely ignored it, even though it's been working flawlessly for centuries.
Okay, let's dive into this. The entire concept basically hinges on one single totally fascinating number, and that is 55 degrees Fahrenheit. This is really the scientific hook of our explainer today. See, right beneath our feet, the Earth actually holds a constant subterranean temperature everywhere in America. It seriously doesn't matter what state you live in or what kind of extreme climate zone you're dealing with up top. The ground has this incredible thermal memory. Because soil is so incredibly dense, it acts like this massive insulating blanket against our atmosphere. So while the surface is baking in the punishing sun, or, freezing in a blizzard, just a little bit of dirt completely blocks those extreme temperature swings. It locks in this beautifully consistent, cool climate.
And that magic number? It lies exactly 6 feet beneath the surface. According to our source material, whether it's a blazing 105 degrees above your head in the dead of July or a freezing 12 degrees below zero in January, the Earth's temperature at a 6-foot depth just does not move. In fact, it literally hasn't moved in recorded history. It's an absolute thermal constant sitting right there in your yard just waiting to be tapped into. And if you think about it, nature has kind of known this all along, right? Look at burrowing animals like foxes or badgers. They instinctively dig their dens to this exact depth to capitalize on this thermal constant. That's how they stay perfectly cool in the summer and warm in the winter without expending a single ounce of energy.
Section 4. The modern HVAC problem. Now we're going to shift our focus to the massive scale and, frankly, crippling costs of how we currently cool our homes.
$130 billion. That is the staggering amount of money the American HVAC industry generates every single year. It's a massive, highly lucrative utility sector. And a huge chunk of that cash, well, it comes directly out of your pocket every single summer just to alter the temperature of your living space. This entire industry basically relies on us paying a massive premium month after month to mechanically force a change in our environment. We are essentially fighting nature using super expensive electricity rather than working with the natural constant sitting right below our feet.
Just look at the financial contrast here. It's a true David versus Goliath situation. A modern central AC system is going to cost you anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 just to install. Then, on top of that, you're paying $150 or more every single month just to run the thing. Over a 20-year period, you're looking at spending well over $40,000. Now, contrast that with the Amish Earth Tube system. It is a one-time flat cost of just $300 for a tunnel. I mean, think about the sheer absurdity of that comparison. That's over $40,000 spent on something that constantly needs maintenance, uses massive amounts of grid power, and eventually breaks, versus $300 for dirt and a pipe that permanently solves the exact same problem.
The benefits of an earth tube system are almost hard to believe when you stack them up against modern AC. First off, you get a zero electric bill. There's no noisy metal compressor sitting outside your bedroom window keeping you up at night. There's no expensive, environmentally taxing chemical refrigerant that needs to be constantly topped off. But honestly, my absolute favorite part, it never breaks down. And it never breaks down simply because there is absolutely nothing in it that can break. It is passive, natural cooling at its absolute finest. You bury it once and it just works, silently and perfectly for the rest of your life.
Section 8. 3,000 years of earth tubes. And this brilliantly illustrates just how long humanity has relied on this rich, ancient, and completely forgotten technology.
We have relied on this reliable geothermal constant for millennia. Literally 3,000 years ago, the ancient Persians built the first sophisticated version of the system. They called them qanats, and they used them to survive the brutal, unforgiving desert heat. They ingeniously routed air through underground channels to cool their buildings. 2,000 years ago, the Romans refined those similar concepts, pulling cool subterranean air directly into their grand villas. Fast forward to about 200 years ago, and the Amish brought this exact knowledge to Ohio and Pennsylvania. Long before the invention of the electric refrigerator, they used earth tubes to create massive root cellars and natural dairy coolers, ensuring their milk and crops stayed perfectly fresh even in the sweltering August heat. They've been using it quietly and successfully ever since, but then in the 1980s, it just mysteriously gets removed from training manuals. We'll get to that little mystery in just a second.
Section 10. How the $300 tunnel works. I want you to picture a 3D cross-section of the Earth in your mind as we break down the brilliant simplicity of the system's mechanics.
It is a beautifully simple three-step process. Step 1, warm air enters from the outside through a small intake. Step 2, that air travels through our $300 tunnel that's buried exactly 6 feet deep in the yard, passing right through that constant 55-degree zone. And step 3, it naturally delivers that perfectly chilled 55-degree air straight into your living space. Now, you might be wondering about the specifics, right? Typically, this is done using a smooth interior PVC or a specially coated corrugated pipe to prevent any mold or moisture buildup. The pipe is laid on a very slight downward slope so any natural condensation just drains safely away into the earth. And to keep out bugs or critters, just a simple, inexpensive mesh screen over the intake. As for how the air moves, you can either rely on natural passive convection, where the hot air rising in your home literally pulls the cool air in, or you can add a tiny whisper-quiet solar-powered fan to boost the airflow. That's really it. It is literally just a protected pipe running through the earth, transferring that constant subterranean chill directly into your home.
All of which brings us to the most obvious glaring question: why in the world did we stop using this? If this system is practically perfect, completely green, and costs $0 to run after buying a few basic materials, why on earth did modern building practices completely walk away from a flawless system?
Section 13. The 1980s Blackout. This brings us to the era when home cooling transitioned into one of the fastest-growing, most lucrative utility expenses in America.
The history here is super fascinating because it's a silent erasure. See, earth tubes were never actually made illegal or banned outright by the industry. An outright ban would have drawn way too much attention to how effective they actually are. Instead, they were quietly, systematically erased from residential building consideration. They simply stopped being mentioned in any contractor training manual written after 1985. It was a total blackout by omission. And if you think about who benefits from this, well, you just have to follow the money right back to that $130 billion industry we talked about earlier. If you sell expensive, complex boxes that require constant maintenance, costly parts, and massive amounts of grid electricity, a permanent $300 dirt tunnel absolutely ruins your business model.
We abandoned this to solve a problem that a $300 tunnel already solved permanently. The source video highlights something incredibly empowering here. You can install this exact system using the basic materials outlined in a home you already own, and you can do it in a single weekend. You can rent a small trencher or honestly just grab a shovel, lay the pipe, and be done. You don't need to hire an expensive contractor, and you definitely don't need to ask permission from a massive utility company to dig in your own backyard and harness the Earth's natural temperature.
So here's the question I want to leave you with. Will you keep paying a multi-billion-dollar industry, or will you dig 6 feet down and reclaim your independence? It's just a fascinating look at how ancient wisdom, quietly preserved by the Amish, offers a radically simple, inexpensive alternative to our modern cooling practices. Take a moment and really think about how much of our modern infrastructure is built around creating recurring costs for things nature provides for free. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this deep dive into the earth tube system leaves you eager to challenge modern utility norms and rethink exactly how you cool your home.